get excited, be excited. I wanted to introduce you to one of my friends and one of the folks that since I've been in Baltimore and DC area, the DMV area and beyond, just following them has been such a highlight in my life. I actually ran into them by accident and was hooked ever since. So I'm happy to do that with y'all. So anyway, I'm going to give a real quick blurb of who they are. I'm going to do like a little intro bio, but then I'm also going to show you the videos. Mind you, we were just talking, I spent a whole bunch of time on these like pre-videos for all the speakers, and we've already been through half of the conference and never showed one at all. So I may, if you're interested, I may show you the other ones, but for sure, we're starting off big time with this intro and making sure that we show you what Shaolin Jazz is about. In 2011, Shaolin Jazz, the 37th chamber, came into the world. It became an instant cult classic, receiving favorable mentions and reviews of OK Player, Hype Beast, NPR, XM Radio, and BBC Radio. What first began as a cool mixtape idea thought up by Gerald Watson and produced by his longtime collaborator, who you see right in front of you, DJ Two-Tone Jones. Yeah. They're now an award-winning creative brand, seriously, world-renowned. And they're known for producing a range of content and unique engagements that explore the intersections of hip-hop, jazz, martial arts, culture, which again is a Gen X thing. Some of y'all may or may not remember. We used to put on Fox, if you were in New York, Fox TV, Channel 5, and you were there hooked watching Shaolin or some form of Kung Fu movie. So Shaolin Jazz has been featured across the map at notable performances, venues, and institutions. They were during the summer. We were in DC, and they have Whole Foods sponsored them. So it was really, really cool. One of the most dynamic extensions of Shaolin Jazz is a series educational and interactive multimedia engagement that they refer to as Shaolin Jazz Lecture Series. The reason why I'm putting this out there is because it's really that dope. And it's being taught in high schools and colleges, universities, things like that, and just really informing people, which is why I wanted to bring them here. And the aim of the lecture series is to explore the cultural and musical parallels and connections that exist between jazz and hip hop in an informative yet entertaining way, using music, art, and discussion. I could go on and on and on, but we're going to go into some really dope clips, and I get to show you what they do and how they do. So I'm going to play a quick video, and I know y'all going to go buck wild because it is right up everybody's eye. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll be back with the infamous, the famous, the noteworthy global sensation, Two-Tone Jones. All right, we'll be back and let me show you this video.
In an accident, can I kick it? Word. Can I kick it?
One of my favorite ones too, right here. Yeah.
Jump around, get down, jump around, check it out, y'all. Jump around, jump up and get down, jump up and get down, jump, 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 jump.
Like, nope.
Nah, not that one.
Jump around, jump up and get down, jump around, check it out, y'all. Jump around, jump up and get down. Jump up and get down. Jump, 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 jump,
Everyone, as you can see in the flesh, virtual flesh, DJ Two-Tone Jones is here. I've invited him to kind of talk about not only the comic book side, but I think lends itself to talk about the educational piece around intercultural connections, what he does. Most importantly, I want y'all to get to know who he is as a man, the myth, the legend, and part of the co-creator group for the Shaolin Jazz. I call it the full-on fledged project because they do so much underneath this banner, especially with Can I Kick It and so on and so forth. But you know, if I had I had a whole thing. This morning was a hot mess, so that's why I had my earbuds. I had the microphone, everything. It did not work, so I would have had clapping hands and all that other stuff. That, you know, but you can hear everybody clapping in the webosphere. But welcome to the show. Welcome to the conference. Thank you for coming through. Can you tell us a little about who you are? I know I've kind of given a little bit of a gist of it, but tell me, you know, where you grew up and who you are.
Yeah. So, originally born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and spent time in Atlanta in school, Morehouse College, and then I moved up to the DC area back in 2001, and was here for grad school, program over at George Washington, and pretty much got stuck here ever since. You know, I was hoping to go back down to Atlanta, but I'm happy. You know, things worked out to where I pretty much stayed here, made DC my new home, and you know, got into DJing really shortly after I moved up here. And not to get too long-winded with it, a couple years kind of here in DC and starting to get my feet wet a little bit with DJing is when I linked up with my partner, Gerald Watson, Gerald G Money Watson. And we've been, you know, we just kind of hit it off, just, you know, off the music, culture, aesthetic. And we've been, you know, doing events and things like that, you know, pretty much ever since. So we used to do a pop-up art exhibition series called Arts and Crafts. It used to happen in the Adams Morgan area. It's a spot called the Common Share that's no longer here, but you know, we're doing several events like that. Art, you know, working with visual artists. So art and music was always something that we've been kind of involved in some capacity. And then, you know, just, you know, DIY kind of events, things like that. So yeah, things kind of, when the idea, the light bulb went off in Gerald's head for the whole Shaolin Jazz mixtape, you know, concept. It just, everything, you know, after actually making the mixtape itself, kind of what we did with it, you know, just became organic, just based off of just our experience together. So doing the listening party events, having live artwork incorporated, even, you know, reaching out to graphic design artists and getting that involved. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where it all kind of came from in the nutshell, in terms of just me and him kind of working together here in the DC area for a number of years.
That's cool, man. It's cool to work with your friends and be able to do that as best as possible. And actually, so as far as the DJing is concerned, you said you were doing that. Were you doing that since you were, you know, a kid, or did you just pick it up?
Nah, actually, you know, I'd been interested in it for quite some time. Never really tried my hand at it until, yeah, pretty much my first year in grad school. And I mean, prior to that, I was, you know, still a fan of music in different ways. Like I used to play drums and used to be in a marching band and jazz band, things like that in school and college. Did the, you know, HBCU drumline kind of thing too, back in Morehouse. But yeah, it wasn't until, you know, and then I would also say, you know, between high school, my time in high school, I was in a band that had some MCs and I played drums. We had live musicians. We did that in high school and a little bit in college. And
so that was doing the Roots before the Roots were doing it.
It was, I would say before I heard of the Roots, I'll say that, you know. So yeah, probably like right before. Yeah, really before like that first, not the Organics album for the heads that really know, but yeah, commercial album came out. Yeah, I mean, it was more of like kind of hip hop alternative, if you will. It was started with really me and a friend of mine named Seth, who played guitar. And this is right after we finished middle school. And he reached out to me about like, hey man, you want to just, you know, hook up and just, you know, just kind of mess around a little bit, see what happens. And you know, kind of started from that and had some other friends that rapped. And we had this, you know, this live band thing we're doing in high school, and played a little bit around town and, you know, got, you know, some little notoriety through the local radio station in town from some of the DJs or whatnot. So yeah, you know, that's kind of where it started. And then in college, you know, I just kind of was immersed with all, you know, folks from different places around the country, you know, whether it cats from Cali or New York or the South, you know, different parts of the South, and really kind of soaking up hip hop even more. And it really has opened my, you know, just really opened me to like a wider range of hip hop and the culture, and being in Atlanta too. Like there was a very vibrant, still is very vibrant hip hop scene, you know, even outside of your kind of traditional down south trap, you know, before the trap kind of stuff really was hitting hard. You know, if for those that know, you know, places like Fat Beats, you know, record shops, like there was a Fat Beats in Atlanta back when I was there, and one of the few times I ever went to a lyricist lounge show was in Atlanta. They used to come down there too. So
Wow.
yeah. So Atlanta, you know, definitely. And I was in college at the same time that Goody Mob dropped their second album. Outkast dropped 2 albums. Like being in Atlanta during that time was very, very special.
That's pretty dope, actually. So you were like at the cusp of it.
Yeah, I was, you know, and I was soaking up. You know, I was around cats that were MCs, producers, DJs. I was dabbling with production, you know, a little bit here and there on you know, on my own. But yeah, you know, again, I was around it a bit, and it wasn't until again I moved up to DC, and I'd always, you know, kind of been interested in DJing, just because I not to say that I thought I would be, you know, the nicest and, you know, very technically sound and all that, just more so just off of music selection. I just felt like, you know, I might have a decent music selection to offer when I go out. So I saved up, bought some turntables, and I think it was just the perfect time because I was starting grad school, and that was a culture shock for me in terms of like just not only the environment but the workload. I never had so much reading to do in my life, and even to this day, nothing compares to like the amount of reading I had to do in grad school. It's a
Talk
big
about trauma, right? That's trauma right there. I remember those days.
Yeah. So DJing and basically just teaching myself, I'd have probably on average 4 to 5 hours of reading every night for grad school. So I would maybe read for about 2 or 3 hours, take a break around midnight, get on the turntables, mess around for maybe like 1 to 2 hours, continue reading for another 1 to 2 hours, and then go to bed, get up, be at my first class around noon, and just do the same thing over. And that was, you know, for a few months. So it was, learning to DJ and teach myself and messing around with blends and all this other stuff. That was like my release when I was in grad school. And I didn't know too many people at the same time either. So I was a little bit of a hermit when I came here. I didn't really get out but so much. So it was perfect. It was a perfect kind of environment for me to like learn and have time and really soak it all up. And, you know, after that, I just started kind of stepping out there a little bit and doing little open mic gigs here and there, maybe stuff at friends' apartments and little house parties. And it just kind of happened from there.
That's cool. So you met Gerald when you were a young adult in college?
So Gerald and I met. So I was I think finishing up grad school around the time I met Gerald. Either finishing up or I just finished grad school. And I saw somebody ask what years I was in grad school. So I was at GW from 2001 to 2003. It was just a 2-year program in their international Elliott School of International Affairs. And so it was around maybe like around after that second year of grad school, just finishing up, I was starting to again kind of do some open mic stuff here on campus, you know. And again, I had some other friends that might have gone to Spelman or some other places that were in town, and they were doing little gatherings at their place, just small, intimate stuff. And so that's kind of how I first really kind of, you know, got opportunities to DJ out in front of other people. And Gerald and I were connected actually through a friend of mine, very random, a friend of mine from school who had relocated up to New York. And at the time he was doing freelance writing for a magazine that's no longer around, one of the dopest kind of culture magazines called Frank 151. And there were these small little books, the magazine, each issue was this small little book. But he did freelance writing for them, and I was up in New York visiting one time, went to the Frank offices, and he was like, yo, there's this cat. I've spoken with the number of times on the phone. He's like he does distribution for us in DC area. He seems like he's pretty well connected, and I think he'd be a good cat for you to meet. And so Gerald gave him the heads up. He gave Gerald the heads up that, we were going to meet. And I met Gerald, I think, at his day job at the time. Back then, he was working at like American Eagle over in Georgetown, something like that. Handed him a demo or a mixtape I'd done. And to be honest, I don't even recall if he took the time to listen to it first before he then asked me like, hey, I'm doing this little pop-up event at this lounge. Have some artwork involved, and usually I work with this one DJ, but he's out of town, and let me know if you're down to spin. And I was like, cool, and from there on, like, we just started like just working together all the time. He would keep doing these events. I would be DJing, and we kind of talked about, like, hey, this should happen maybe more regularly, or if things aren't working out at this spot, which they didn't work out at that first spot after a while, talked about finding another home for it and naming it and things like that. So, he'd already kind of was doing some of this on his own, but when we kind of linked, it just became this like natural fit. It's been a unique friendship, business relationship. And I couldn't, imagine a better, kind of partnership on the business tip, because we just aesthetically, like, we're just into the same stuff as it relates to hip hop. And Gerald's history in the game is I'm sometimes in awe in some of the stories he tells me. He used to be an intern with Lyricist Lounge. So the cats who created Lyricist Lounge, he worked directly under them as an intern, and it wasn't like they had a team of interns. It was them two, maybe one other cat that worked with them, and then Gerald interned with them for a summer. And
that's crazy.
People he was around, and being around Helter Skelter, all day at an event, or when he went to Hampton for a few years, he brought artifacts down to Hampton to perform, and that was through, again, connections from up in New York and all of that. And then Gerald also has history in like the streetwear industry. So like before streetwear was even a term, him and some of his friends had a brand they were pushing. I would say it's called Armageddon. But so early on, when like the Magic Show was just starting, like they were there, and so he's got skin in the game, relationships with, cats who run the founder of Staple, Jeff Staple has Staple Line, or people from Supreme. He knows these cats. He's been in shows with them from years back. So Gerald's just sometimes I forget, every now and then I'm like, yeah, that's right. You do know these cats, and you did these there. Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a real cool relationship working with Gerald. So yeah, shouts out to G Money as always. Sorry he couldn't be here with us today.
G Money, he can hear you talk about him. So I'm sure if you're itching or something, like somebody talk about me, but it's a good thing. So I know we're talking about the business side of Shaolin Jazz. What was I guess if you could tell anybody why this fusion works, and why this fusion even came about, could you give us a lay of the land of that decision?
So the whole concept again really came from so Gerald was doing this series that I was just kind of supporting, more so just doing like mixes for, but he did this limited series called the Classics. And the Classics was each event was based on a different genre of music, and really the event itself was an album cover art exhibition. So he would basically like either go through my collection, or he reach out to a few other different DJs, and he'd pull maybe like anywhere from like 50, 60 album covers. And at a lounge or venue, in town, he would hang up all the album covers on the wall, and that was basically the art exhibition. But he would do a little bit more around it, so it wasn't just the in-person event, but like You know, he tried to develop content online leading up to the event and after the event to kind of really make it more of a immersive kind of experience. So for each genre, he would highlight, he would maybe like interview somebody that was involved in the industry and maybe like album cover design work or photography, things like that. So for instance, he did one on reggae, and it was all reggae album covers. And he interviewed somebody who used to work for VP Records. And, you know, that's like VP is, I wouldn't say Def Jam of reggae, you know, dance hall, but up there, you know, VP is a big label for that. But he also did one on hip hop. He did one on soul. And the last one he did was jazz. And now, mind you, each one he would do, he would ask me to do like just a mix, you know, maybe like 30, 45-minute mix. And he would maybe put it up online. And that was just something else to go along with the event and the experience. Mm-hmm. And so for jazz, he happened to interview this cat named Logan Mills Walters. And he's a graphic designer. Honestly, I can't remember right off where Logan's from. But Logan had done this series, graphic design series online, where he basically recreated Wutang album covers and gave them a Blue Note jazz cover look. So it looks like a Blue Note album cover, but it's a Wutang cover. And it might have been, he did one for like, you know, almost all the Method Man solo albums. He did one for Cuban Links and In the 36 Chambers and Kill Army, like all these, you know, all the solo projects. And if you look it up online, I think it might still be somewhere online. If you and he called the series Wu Note off of, you know, instead of Blue Note, Wu Note. Really dope, really dope. So I wasn't too hip to it. Gerald had found it, you know, online somewhere. So he interviewed him for the jazz one. And I think there was a mashup project that had happened that I guess Gerald discovered where someone took Beatles and Wutang and did a little mashup, you know, with that. And I think Logan may have designed the cover for that mixtape. And so Gerald happened to ask, he's like, well, have you ever done one for, let's say, jazz and Wutang? You know, is there a mix that you know of? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, nah. He's like, but, you know, if one exists, you know, or if one was created, I'd be more than happy to do, you know, cover for one. So, of course, Gerald, you know, did a little research online, looked up anything jazz and Wutang, didn't really find anything. So he was like, look, man, what do you think for this last one? Instead of just doing a mix on jazz, what do you think about taking Wutang and jazz and somehow doing a mix with those together? And I was like, man, it sounds dope. I have no idea what that is, but like, it just sounds dope to me, you know? So first off, the mix wasn't anywhere close to ready for the event. The event happened, and I want to say like 2 weeks later, I then sent him like one track. And I was like, look, I know, you know, I could have told you early on I was going to have this ready in time for the event, but I was like, but this one track I did, this gives you a sense of how deep I'm going with this. Cause like, you know, you asked me to do something with Wu-Tang and with jazz. I mean, these are two things I hold in a very, very high esteem. And so I couldn't do just anything. I can't just throw something together. So I sent him, the first track I sent him was a blend or a remix, if you will, of Cream that I did. And I took this cat, Gennaro Jarrell, had a project, and there was this beat on there, instrumental that he had on there that I always loved. And it was a flip of a track from Pharoah Sanders, jazz musician Pharoah Sanders. And so for some reason, I was like, man, I'd love to hear that with Cream and see what that sounds like. And so yeah, you know, I blended the two together. I added some stuff, you know, some other elements. There's even like if you're familiar with the first Wutang album, the Killer Tape Interlude, I got that at the beginning of it, and you know, and it has a little bit of Coltrane in the background, and then it kind of eases its way, kind of storyline wise, into the original sample, Pharoah Sanders sample, and then it goes right into the beat, and then Cream comes in. So like that was this track one, you know. And so I gave it to him, and he was like, take all the time you need, man. Take all these, like, I hear how he's like, you're getting really serious with this. He was like, if this is how the whole album's going to be, he's like, take all the time you need. So
Wow.
5 months later, I finished the whole mixtape project. And I really got into it. Like there's some nights, just because I had the time, you know, I pulled some all-nighters just because I was in the zone, just working on stuff. But 5 months later, the mixtape was done, and you know, we decided to call it. Now I want to say Gerald came up with the name for the mixtape, and we called it Shaolin Jazz, the 37th Chamber. And we wanted a title that would not, you know, infringe on any, you know, any other names, but still, you know, if you're a fan of Wutang, you know, really a fan, you know, the Shaolin reference, and then jazz, you know, so that's where it all started, just from the mixtape. And we knew we had something special on our hands, so we, you know, we don't want to just throw it out online and just that be it. So we set up a few listening parties in DC, Philly, and New York. We had already had a relationship work with the local artist by the name of Neocon Udolphia. If you ever drive around DC, you see his murals all over. So if you've been to Ben's Chili Bowl, the mural on the side of Ben's Chili Bowl, that's a Neocon. And he has plenty other murals around the city now. But we've been working with him for a number of years as well. And he basically ended up creating a small series of artwork, kind of small pieces, but artwork inspired by the mixtape. So when we did our first DC listening party, when we did the listening parties, it was a combination listening party art exhibition. So he had his artwork around. He was even doing a live piece. And the listening parties were just, I was so humbled by how many people came out. It was crazy packed. So like the DC one, I want to say we easily had like almost 200 people walking the door, and it was just, and we were in like a boutique store, like wasn't super big, but like it was packed, people spilling out on the sidewalk. The New York one,
fire hazard. Nobody said nothing.
Oh yeah, no, fire hazards all day at the listening parties, which is great. I love it. New York, we rented out an art gallery or a space. It was just all white walls, so we were able to hang up the artwork on all the walls. And like a week before we did the New York one, it just so happened that NPR, their website, in the jazz section, someone picked up the mixtape and did an article about our mixtape project in the jazz section of NPR, which was like, oh, it's crazy, it's dope. So that happened the week before the listening party in New York. So I mean, it was like a couple hundred people just showed up out there. They're like, yo, I saw the thing on NPR, and then, you know, and it was just stupid packed. So again, we knew we had something special. We were like, yo, let's just keep this thing going. So we, Gerald had the idea of doing an album cover design contest, and we put it out there for graphic designers to redo the cover that Logan created for us for the mixtape. And we were, you know, Gerald and I, is funny. When we do things at times, I hate to say aim low, but like we're happy with, like, if, you know, like, hey, if 3 people participate in this competition, you know, because not like we know this long list of graphic designers from around it, like, you know, we're just putting it out there. And he looked for different blog sites to like post it to that dealt with art and graphic design. And we're like, yo, if we get 3 to 5 people, this thing is a success. Like, this would be great, you know. By the time the competition was over, it was just, you know, I guess it was meant to be. We had exactly 37 submissions.
What?
For Shaolin Jazz to 37.
Yeah.
Exactly 37 submissions.
Crazy.
Not one submission was from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. They were all from all around the world. We had submissions from Japan, Russia, San Francisco, LA, New York, Romania. The girl who actually ended up winning, she was from, I think, based out in New York. But we had like finalists from Romania, finalists from London. I mean, it was just, it's crazy. So even with that, we have all these dope designs, and we're like, hey, let's do something with these designs. So we found a website where they do print on demand, and we were like, hey, let's have some shirts and apparel. So, you know, we just started doing all this stuff kind of organically, and, you know, DIY. And the thing that really took it another level was a professor from Temple University reached out to us and was like, hey, it'd be dope if y'all come to my class and talk about this project, this mixtape project. You know, it's very unique, and And so we're like, cool, yeah, Temple, like this is okay. But we
That's my
didn't.
alma mater, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Congrats. Yeah. Shouts out to Temple. Yeah. Shouts out to Philly. Philly. Yeah. But yeah, so we didn't want to just come there and just talk about our mixtape and that be that. So we were like, hey, let's touch on it. We've had some conversations about this before, but we're like, let's have a broader conversation about jazz and hip hop and how these two not necessarily just intersect, because of course you have a number of examples of hip hop and jazz intersecting, whether, you gotta, always throw in the category Guru's Jazz Mataz series, which is a great, blending, fusing of the two. Or even mentioning the fact that the last studio recorded album by the late, great Miles Davis was produced by Easy Mo B, hip hop producer who produced for Biggie, Pac, and everybody else. Craig Mack, wow. Flavor Year, all that. Yeah, that's Easy Mo B. And he got linked up. They got linked up together by Russell Simmons, hip hop. Wow. Wow. But yeah, but we're like, beyond just the music, like, there's all these kind of parallels, that they're, prior to jazz coming into, existence, you had the, blues and the name will come to me in a little bit, but you had a few different genres, outside of blues and oh goodness, it'll come to me a little bit, but ragtime, that's it. Ragtime music and blues, and that was kind of born out of the experiences of slavery and things like that. But then with hip hop, you have genres like reggae and disco, and those were kind of some of the popular genres that very much influence sonically and whatnot, hip hop. And those things were not far, after the civil rights, era and things like that. So, we look at like what's going on in the U.S. socially, politically, prior to the music coming around. And, music served as a form of escapism for a lot of people. But then also, looking at crime and involvement of crime in terms of like, hey, a lot of the mobsters created a lot of opportunities for jazz musicians. So a lot of the speakeasies and those places that were legal, spots back in the day, jazz musicians got a lot of work, Look at hip hop. It was the drug dealers who put on the parties, in Queens and the Bronx and places like that. And these were the cats that like, had the resources that hip hop artists back then, the major clubs weren't, so catering to that just yet. But, so we look at all these different things, dancing styles and all that stuff. So we created this multimedia lecture just off of that idea. And, we first started it at our first kind of speak engagement at Temple. But from there, we're like, yo, let's craft this. Let's add more elements. Let's really, so we spent a lot of time in the library for a number of months after that Temple visit, really crafting that. And that's, that was out of that, again, was our first kind of engagement from Shaolin Jazz.
It's funny. So one of the other reasons why I brought you on board is because there's so much interconnection with like just, I don't say pop culture, but like hip hop has always been kind of on the outskirts, but it's always revered as like mainstream. It became mainstream. It wasn't mainstream before.
Yeah.
When BX got it, Brooklyn took it. All that stuff that happened in between, and then but it's funny. Not to kind of make the juxtaposition, but there's been a resurgence of that in the comic book community with the hip hop piece. Which is really interesting because, and I don't know if anybody has their book that they wouldn't mind like coming up on the stage and showing Two-Tone. It is amazing. They actually have taken Marvel and created hip hop covers.
Oh, I was actually about to say that. I got 3 of them bad boys right now in my collection.
Oh,
I got the Punisher LL Cool J cover. I got the Iron Man Liquid Swords.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, Iron Man and the 50 Cent album cover. And then there is one with Iron Man and 1 or 2 other characters, and it's Liquid Swords. Actually, when we're doing one of our Can I Kick It series, we got in touch with the folks that were behind that, and they donated a few albums for us to like give away as trivia. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, yes.
They're also doing stuff with like Pooh, like Do You Pooh, and they're doing some hip hop stuff with that too, with Biggie and all the other stuff. So it's really interesting. Like even as us as geeks, I think we're geeks across the board anyway with all the, but they blend really easily. It's just so easy, especially the roots of it, right? Like there's people who just don't have nothing, but they got something. They built something and they developed, and then somebody obviously comes in and tries to take over and take over the commodity.
But it's it's interesting you bring that up, because I feel like the community of folks that are into comics is a very if you did one of those Venn diagrams with the circles, you're going to see a huge overlap of comic book heads, hip hop heads, and fans of martial arts, kung fu flicks and things like that.
Yep.
And you get that even just in the references in hip hop. I mean, you think about all the hip hop artists who have a comic book reference in their name alone.
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze,
Yep.
to MF Doom, and but then you also look at the martial arts influences too. And again, you got
That's right.
from the Wutang stuff to even if you look at like J. Rue the Damage, I remember on this second album, there's like a video and there was kind of, I think elements of like Tai Chi or something like that in one of his videos, and King Just and all these other cats, so there's these big Fushnikins. I mean,
even Shaq got into it.
Shaq Fu, come on, man, like this so much.
Fu.
So Shaq Fu. I mean, so that it's like it's not even so much as in a weird way, not in a weird way, but like to me, I didn't really see that as so much. Even now looking at it, like I don't see this like, comic books is kind of a nerdy thing. Like, nah, I mean, Wu-Tang, them cats collect comics, like RZA got comics, and all these other cats got, and they'll run off. Pete Rock could run off comic references all day to you, And you think about even one of the dopest DJ crews, the Executioners, the X-Men. Like these are all comic book, they all take from it. So like we were all in this world, it's just, if anything, we're in different towns, all in the same state, basically. That's what it is. We still understand the dialect, the lingo, the customs, but it's just such a huge overlap, between all of these different things.
The first time that I heard Method Man talk about comic books, I was like, I identify with that dude because, I mean, it's almost as if it's funny that you have these forms of escapism sometimes, and during that era where people were like trying to figure out what they were going to do for their next paychecks, so on and so forth, but also living, period, and sometimes in dangerous neighborhoods. And that escapism, that hope that came from like hip hop, comic books, music, period, right? Even movies, right? Like
and that kung fu flicks. That's that too. Like it's the small guy against the big government or whatever. That's plays into the black exploitation films.
I wanted to be Bruce Lee so bad. I used to walk around with Chinese slippers from like the dollar store, man. That's why I have terrible feet to this day, probably. They weren't made for flat feet. I know I have before. I could talk to you all day, but I wanted to let people know that you got something actually prepared. But before we do that, I actually have a question from a couple of questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna show on stage real quick. What do you have planned musically for the near future? She kind of took one of my questions out the gate, but that's my sister. It's all good. So
hey, what's up?
Actually, you know what, Miss Keys, would you like to? I'm gonna invite you to the stage. How about that? Because we haven't done that yet. I'm waiting for a response. She may or may not show up.
Okay.
But either way, if she don't show up, I'll make sure that we answer her question. Miss Keys, would you like to show up on stage? If not, here she comes. She comes.
There we go.
Here we go. Miss Keys, what's good? There we go.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Hey, I can't complain. Happy to be here.
Amen to that. So yeah, my question. But I'm getting over my shyness, so,
you got a superwoman shirt on. What are you talking
you
about?
good. You good.
It's not powered up yet. Let her set it up. Get the sun to hit it right. But yeah, what are your plans in the near future? I think everybody would like to know that. I'm sorry I took your question, Papa Jen. I'm sorry.
It's all good. We family. It's all good.
So I'll say for the future for Shaolin Jazz, definitely, we're pushing our Can I Kick It movie screening experience as far and as often as we can do it. So if you are in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, we do have 2 more screening events before the end of the year. So on December 6th, we will be doing another one of our monthly screening events here in DC at Songbird Music House. It's a free event, and we'll be doing a screening of arguably the best Christmas movie ever made, Die Hard. We'll be doing that.
Whoa!
What?
Been looking forward to doing it. Yeah. And then later that week, on that Saturday, December 10th, we'll be in Bmore at one of our favorite places, Creative Alliance. And we'll be ending the year with the cool Can I Kick It screening of Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, Miss Keys, you gotta make a trip.
Yes, I will make a trip for that.
Yes.
Like, for real.
Yeah. And in February, we're already booked for down in in Cary, North Carolina, which is right around Chapel Hill, Raleigh, North Carolina area. We're going to be down there in February, also doing a screening of The Last Dragon. And we'll be getting a pre-recorded interview with Mr. Ty Mock himself, Mr. Bruce Leroy.
What?
Shown, I think either right before or right after the movie itself, but we'll be doing a Q&A with him.
Oh,
yeah.
You had me at Last Dragon and Bruce Leroy.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, that usually gets it. Gets it.
Meanwhile, I'm usually the one in the corner going, "Who's the master?"
Yeah, I mean, the best villain, the best movie villain, for pretty much all time. I don't.
Oh my gosh! But yeah.
Well, Miss Keys, you gotta break out of that shyness. You see how this happened right here? You just found out so much information that you have to travel to go see.
I'm ready.
Leroy.
I'm ready. I am. But thank you so much. You're so awesome, and I love what you're doing. I love it.
Appreciate it.
That video was amazing.
Oh, I got a little more for y'all. Actually, I got
we got a little bit more surprises.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Little something else. Yeah, thanks so much, though. Yeah, definitely appreciate the support. And hope to see you on those events real soon.
Yep. Count me in.
All right.
Great.
All right. Bye.
All right, take care.
You too.
We have one person who wants to take the mic.
Okay. From the collectibles.
Let's see. I think you know what, Miss Keys? I think you can't get off because you're what we call a VIP. You know what I'm saying? So let me see.
Yeah.
But we have a nerd Tween. He had a question.
Yeah, I'm sure you can hear me. I actually found a few of my hip-hop covers. I'm not sure why the video is not working.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let me see.
Turn
on
video.
The Marvel hip-hop ones?
There we go. Wait. Oh. Let me pull you back in. Here we go. There you go, brother.
It's still not letting me turn it on. It worked earlier. What the hell's going on?
I can't unmute someone else. You have to unmute yourself. Is it not working?
Well, you can hear me, right?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Yeah, but the video is just whatever reason is not working.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry.
It's all
wasting your time.
It's all good.
One of them was a Wutang homage, and one was a like NWA, and one was a Biggie homage.
Was
two Good Boys, and then a Javon Jordan Hail Crow NYCC exclusive. He did he calls it Enter the King of Hell 666 Chambers.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm really disappointed that the video decided not to work.
Yeah.
You know what? Remove you and come back because we were able to boot off Ebony, Miss Keys. I'm gonna bring you back in, okay? All right, here we go. I'm gonna try and get him back real quick. Oh, he's no longer there. All right, I'm gonna pull him back up. If you love technology.
Yeah, gotta love.
Here we go. He raised his hand again. All right, here we go, brother. Let's do it again.
There we go.
Hey, there we go.
So here's the first one.
Oh, you got. I think you have to turn off your
Technology still doing what it does.
It's gonna win.
Well, we're gonna have to take your word for it.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
So there's one.
Oh, dope.
It's a Good Boy exclusive. Then
dope.
This is the Biggie.
Ooh, okay.
Virgin double signed and remarked. No big deal.
King of New York.
But this is the NYCC exclusive.
Oh, that's dope. Oh, that's dope.
I wasn't able to go, but I was like, I'm gonna pay extra for this one. I don't give a shit. I think I paid like $20 over what it was going for at the con, like the weekend of. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Send it to me. Just send it to me. Thank you.
That's dope.
I followed his career like since the very beginning, and he does shit like that all the time. Like he has a Grand Theft Auto homage. He has every cover he just slaughters it. But yeah, that one I was like, I know I can't make it, but I'm gonna get one.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know you got more stuff to show, but you're talking hip hop. Right. I was like, oh my god, I have them right here.
Hey, no problem. No problem. We appreciate you.
Thanks for sharing, man. Yeah.
All right. So I guess we got like 9 minutes.
All right. We got an 8
clip. I know, right?
Real quick too.
That somebody asked us about what jazz album cover would you like to see as a comic book homage?
Ooh, a jazz cover as a comic book homage. I'd almost like to see Miles Davis' Bitches Brew kind of reimagine, like with the older kind of like Avengers, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, give it that old look. Yeah, the original Infinity Gauntlet look of Miles Davis' Bitches Brew, I think would be a nice crossover right there.
Are you sure we're not related or something? Because that's exactly what I was thinking. I swear to you. I was about to go Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, and then you took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, it's essentially already, the cover itself could be a comic book cover itself,
Yeah, exactly.
The illustration on that is crazy. I can't remember the name of the artist, but I know he's done similar work with Herbie Hancock, some other covers. But yeah, that Bitches Brew cover is mean, real mean. Yeah.
All right. So you wanted to show me something before?
Yeah. So and hopefully we have time. Does this allow us to run over maybe an extra minute or so? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So so I want to thanks again for showing that clip from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was taken from one of our virtual screenings that we actually did. So during the pandemic, when we weren't able to be in person in front of people, we shouts out to my business partner Gerald, who had the idea, and as our gigs were starting to get canceled for the year, we were like, yes, we need to figure out this virtual thing. So we did a Can I Kick It live stream. And I want to say almost every 2 weeks, twice a month or so, we were doing a different movie during the pandemic. And it was great because it allowed us to, not only reach, keep connecting with the people that have been coming to the events, but so many other people that, live far away that have never been to our events. So like my parents were watching it on a regular basis, my nephew, and they're all down in North Carolina. We had people in California. Some people were telling us they had friends in like South America that were watching. So it was just really great to be able to connect with people during that time. And And so one of the other ones we did, which I felt like was perfect tie-in for today, and it just so happens that you're wearing the shirt that you're wearing. We did a Can I Kick It screening of a movie called Batman Ninja. And so I'd like to share with you all the first 7-8 minutes of what we did for that. So I hope y'all enjoy this. And this is for those of y'all, again, new to Can I Kick It? You know, we show different movies, mostly action, martial arts, do some anime here and there as well. But I'm basically live scoring the movies, scene by scene, using hip hop, funk, soul, rock, just whatever works good for the scene. You still can follow everything going on, all the dialogue. So here's a clip from one of our animated ones that we did. And this is, here we go.
That's a good one.
Batman Ninja. So hope you enjoy.
Hey, yo. Are you ready? Having a ball. I'm ready. And you know, they asked me to get on the mic. And they asked me, can I kick it? Word. Can I kick it?
You think you've heard every Batman story? I promise you haven't. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. And this time, curiosity almost killed this cat.
Shut it down, Rod. It's over. You're finished. No, I'm too close. You will not interfere with my experiment this time, Batman. Catwoman, don't! What? Where am I? What happened? Oh. It's Japanese, and that's me. There he is! Get in! Samurai. Stop. Listen to me. I don't want to hurt any of you. Fine. Have it your way. Explain yourself.
We were sent to find a man dressed as a bat. Our master has ordered us to kill him on sight. He cannot be allowed to live.
Who's your master?
Microphone checker, swinging sword lecture, closing down the sector, supreme neck protector. Better want him, kid, Mr. Mepsa. Ballin' pop, about to blow his lid from the pressure. Too hot for TV, for cheesy. Too many wanna be Harvey Easy. It's all in together, going on out together. It don't take much to please me. Still, Holmes never satisfied like the Stones. We don't condone fighting, see them selling crossbones. Protecting what I'm writing, don't clash with the Titan. Who blast with a license to kill rap recitants. Come on, in the zone with your from the group home to cow. Your lifestyle, put your lights out. Get this shit to crackin', got you feeling with your pipes out. Time for some action. Surfing the avenue, mad at you. Where I used to battle to. Back when Antoinette had that attitude. Cover me, I'm going in. Walls closing in. Got us busting off these pistols. My nigga got issues again. Same song, armed with the mega bomb. Blow you out the frame, then I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Show some love, y'all. Show some love. That's what's up. That is so crazy. It's actually one of my favorite Batman anime. Well, I'm a Batman fiend, as you could tell. But
I got tons of DVDs over here myself too. That one was a very, very interesting one as well. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed doing that one right there.
Yeah, it reminded me. I don't know if it was done by the same folks who did the Matrix one, the anime.
Yeah, I remember you talking those shorts to make the. Yep. Yeah, it looks very, very
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I have a couple. Let me see if I have any more people ask any more questions. Some last questions. Now, he already told you the schedule, so don't mess that up. Make sure you travel, get a car, travel to wherever you need to. Go see Bruce Leroy. Is he gonna be there in person, or is he gonna?
Almost. We were working on it, but no, we're actually going to do a pre-recorded interview that will be showing. The night of the event, and that'll be the one in North Carolina in February. So,
that's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, we always listen. Coming too. So yeah.
If people wanted to find out, obviously Shaolin Jazz, and make sure that, but you guys are always traveling based on interest and gigs, right? So, folks, we have a lot of people from Florida up in here. So
word. Okay. Yeah, we're trying to get down to Florida. We're trying to bring it down there too. So everywhere, we've been a lot of places, but there's still a lot of places on our list we want to get to. So we're working on it.
Cool.
Definitely working on it. And Austin, Texas. Yes, that is another place we're trying to bring it down.
I think they're putting in their request. This is like the request line.
Hey, go ahead. Yeah.
Suggestion. But yeah, thank you so much, Two-Tone Jones. I appreciate you. You know how I feel about you. This brother will always. It was so funny. He'll always alert me when stuff about to go down. I followed him, but he's like, "Yo, there's about to be this and that. Come through." And I'm like, "All right, I'll be there."
Yeah.
But I love the work. I love everything that you guys stand for, and all the education piece. Obviously, I'm on board. So it's just great to see you again, and even though it's virtual, I know I'm closer to you, so I'll be able to jump on the 6th. You said December 6th, right?
December 6th here in DC, and then the 10th in Baltimore.
The 10th in Baltimore. So my homeboy who's on here, Kingsley, that might be one of the outings that we have to.
All good.
So I'll have to do that. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you 1,000%. You know how I feel. And if you need anything, the community's here, but most importantly, you and I are brothers for life. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you again.
Hey man, appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. And if y'all get a chance, again, check out ShaolinJazz.com for more information. Follow us. And one thing we don't have up online, I will share this real quick. If we have any folks that are vinyl collectors, and we're only doing this kind of directly, we got to keep this kind of on the hush hush, but we have limited copies of one of our mixtapes called Bird Over Staten. And this is actually we fuse in hip hop, Wutang and jazz, but the focus around here is works of the late great Donald Byrd. So we actually are selling these. If you're interested, shoot us an email. You can shoot us an email either at info@shaolinjazz.com, real simple, info@shaolinjazz.com, or twotone@shaolinjazz.com, but probably do the info one, that's easier. And again, we have limited copies available of that. Just $30 for a piece of limited vinyl. So please check it out if you get a chance. We also have, if you want to even check out some of our other, music from our catalog, we have a Bandcamp page as well. So just go to shaolinjazz.bandcamp.com and you can check out our full mixtape catalog, with the exception a bird over Staten. You just got to get it from us directly for that one. But yeah, thanks again, man, for having me. Hope to see some of y'all there at some of the screenings, and hopefully we can get to where some of you all are at as well in the near future. Definitely this year coming up. So,
that's indeed.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about a Comic-Con in Puerto Rico in a couple of years, so I'm gonna have to fly you out there and be like, hey, let's have a party.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's go.
I have your booth is already set up. Everybody should go to the booth in the back, in the virtual booth. Make sure that you sign up. They'll shoot directly to them. And if you want to message, obviously, I am going to get that bird vinyl today. So info@shaolinjazz.com. Make sure you get that.
Yes.
It's limited, so make sure you get it while it's good. That's what my girl Ebony, Miss Ebony Keys says anyway. But all right, cool. We're gonna hop on to the next part of our show. You're more than welcome to hang out and chill with us if you want to, and bow out when you can, when you want. But we would love to thank you one more time for just dropping jewels and bringing me back to a place of nostalgia for sure. I need to get more hip hop covers. I sold all of mine, unfortunately. So
they're always out there, man. It's, you just gotta find, gotta dig. But yeah, they out there.
All right, cool. All right, people, we're gonna flip to the next session. But thank you once again, Two Tone Jones, DJ Two Tone Jones. Have a great day.
Hey, do the same. Thanks, y'all.